Okay, so I seem to have gotten my mechanical alignment all out of whack, and so I'm going to correct it here with a couple tools here. I've got some 1, 2, 3 blocks, and I've got a precision 90. I don't really need the precision 90. I can use 2 1, 2, 3 blocks, or one or the other, or whatever you prefer. So I found that when I tram this, I'm out 32 thousandths. The rail is like this, and of course I've just replaced my tool head recently, and I've already checked my 90 here, and I am 90 here. So the direction to go when your 90 is good is to go ahead and rotate your rails. However, I've homed Y and I've homed X and I've trammed this, and I'm out 30, 32, 33 thousandths. I don't have enough play in my bolt holes here to get this square. And what that means is that this beam here, when it's homed, is out. So basically I have to kind of start over. My 90 is there, so all I have to really do is home it, adjust my limit switch, tram it however much it's out, divide it in half, move your switch that amount, tram it again, and repeat until this guy becomes parallel with this one. After that happens, I'm going to go ahead and tram this other side here and get that one in. However, I will typically float one rail on each side because this system is really over constrained. So I like to let them float a little bit on two sides. So this side is really not that critical for me, but I need two good sides, and it needs to tram within 0.02 of an inch on those two rails that I choose to use. So what I've done is I've went to one end, I've loosened up the bolt, I pulled it one way and looked at the reading, and then I pushed it the other way and looked at the reading, and I had 20 thousandths in between there. So I moved it to 10 thousandths and I tightened the bolt down, and then I came down here and I did the same thing. I still had my 20 thousandths total movement, and then I moved it to 10, tightened all the bolts down. So this one right here is pretty much going to stay right there where it's at. And to do that, I have to loosen up the bolts on this here, because that carriage is going to want to twist there when I adjusted that. So once this guy is pretty much done now. I can tighten these down and lock that in. It's not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. The camera's going to be in my way, so I'm going to take pieces of this video and put them together. And here's kind of what I did here. My Y is already homed, but it's not really relevant that it's even homed at all. Now I've homed my X, and so here we're at 0, and if I run that down there, I'm looking at 28 thousandths. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make some adjustments here and then come back to the camera. Okay, I'll go ahead and do one adjustment. I'm going to home my X, and then we're going to move it into position. Hold on, I see something here I didn't. Alright, now I'm going to send it back. I'm looking at 20 thou. I'm going to go ahead and zero it out. Alright, I'm showing 20 there. And this end needs to go this way, or this needs to go out this way. So I'm going to go ahead and make an adjustment here to my end stop switch. You see now we're at 20. Go ahead and home it. So we went from 20 to 5, 6, 7.5. So the indicator, so the rail needs to go this way, or this needs to go this way. So I'm going to have to adjust my switch just a little bit more. Home it again here. Okay, so we went over a couple thou, but we really need to tram it now to kind of see oh, now we're out 8 thousandths. I'm going to zero it again. So I'll adjust my switch again, give it a little bit more. There you go. Alright, so we'll bring this back down. And that's it. So now I just need to go ahead and tram this other side, get it close, and then see what my back one looks like, see what my front one looks like, and pick which one I want for that. Be right back. Okay, I went ahead and locked this rail down, and then I had to go over and flip this so the gauge was on this rail here and tram it in, and I got that done. And then I went to do the back, and I was faced with the dilemma. How do I know whether my switch needs to be adjusted? So I have a switch in this back left corner and a switch in the right corner to align the Y gantry, and there's also an X switch over here and another one in the front. And I'm at 90 for sure from my gauge blocks. And so how do I know whether I need to rotate this rail or adjust this switch? I couldn't figure it out. So what I did is I adjusted this switch. I've already trammed this rail to this one and this rail to this one, and I know I'm 90, so now I need to tram this and to determine whether I need to rotate the rail or adjust the limit switch. So what I ended up doing is I adjusted the limit switch, and then I powered off the steppers while the indicator was still against the rail here. And what I was looking for is when I disabled the motors for Y, if this kicks one way or the other, it's in a bind. So I kept adjusting this switch so that when I powered off Y and X, that they did not move at all. That's the only way I can think to do that. If you know another way, shout it out in the comments. So that's what I did here. Surprisingly, when I adjusted this switch so that the Y-axis did not move, when I trammed this rail, it was within about 3 thousandths. So I didn't have to move this one much at all. I do believe right now it is correct. Now in the process I broke this, I had an ABS plastic switch mount here in the back corner, and I've been having problems when you run enclosed and the plastic gets hot. I think they want to move a little bit, and it's really important that these switches are very precise every time so this gantry stays squared. And the reason that I'm doing this again is I've just changed this tool head for Chube, Goliath, Mosquito, and I felt my machine was running really well before, and I didn't go ahead and tram these in again and check them, and I'm glad I did because it was off. Also, I kind of knew they were off because when a cross gantry makes diagonal moves, if these rails aren't, it's really over constrained to begin with. There's too much constraints on this. That's why I like to leave a rail on each side float. It's just over constrained. Just loosen a little bit so they can move if they need to. So anyway, I was hearing there's a strange little buzz I'm used to hearing if the rails are binding or they're not aligned properly. It's a certain hum or noise that it makes, and I hear it often in videos that I see of other printers, and I kind of know from my own machine that that's from the rails binding. So so anyway, right now it is trammed in within, it was within 1/1000th of an inch on all four. So that looks pretty good. I did not check the elevation of the rail. I really have no way to adjust that other than to shim the bottom of the rail, and it gets pretty tricky because when it's on an angle, you know, your shim is one thickness, and then that thickness changes as it goes down. It is incredibly hard to shim the bottom of a rail and yet bolt it down tight and not have it deform that rail. You know, you'll get little waves, you know, in your rail when one side is high and it goes low and there's a gap there or whatever. It's not going to be right. Sure would be nice to be able to have adjustments in the base frame so that you could tilt the rails individually or something like that, or maybe just grout them in, or you know, but then high temp, what's going to happen there, who knows. So anyway, so I believe I've got this pretty good. We'll just see how it happens. You know, if these rails are misaligned, it can also cause your motors to vibrate more. They're kind of in a bind. The motor has to work a little bit harder. There's some stiction there, and then the motor will end up resonating. So the better you get these rails aligned, the less motor vibration or VFA you can get at certain speeds. It's going to help it anyway. It's not going to eliminate it. The motor's just naturally going to do that at certain speed ranges. Anyway, so go ahead and put this back together, and then See how it prints.